She survived a stroke that left her fighting for her life. She's still relearning how to speak, how to move, how to trust her own body again. And now, in the middle of the hardest fight of her young life, the one person she thought she could always count on has walked straight out the door, and Carla Connor is not staying quiet about it. If you thought the Swain Connor household had already been through enough drama to last a lifetime, buckle up, because Coronation Street is about to turn Weatherfield upside down all over again, and this time, it's personal. Hello, and welcome back to the channel, your home for everything happening on the cobbles. If you're new here, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, because today we've got one of the most emotionally charged storylines Corrie has produced in months, and it's only just getting started. We're talking about Betsy Swain's devastating health crisis, the friendship that was supposed to help her through it, and the moment Carla Connor finally reaches breaking point. So grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's get into it. For anyone who hasn't been keeping up with every twist and turn on Coronation Street lately, and honestly, who could blame you? This show moves fast. Let's rewind a little and set the scene. Betsy Swain, played by Sydney Martin, has become one of the most talked about young characters on the street over the past couple of years. She arrived in Weatherfield as a mouthy, streetwise teenager who quickly clashed with factory boss Carla Connor, played by the brilliant Allison King. What started as a battle of wills, including Betsy blackmailing Carla after witnessing an accident outside the factory, slowly transformed into something nobody expected, a genuine, complicated, but deeply loving bond between the two of them. That relationship only deepened once Carla and Betsy's mother, Detective Sergeant Lisa Swain, played by Vicky Myers, fell for each other. Lisa and Carla's romance has been one of the most talked about relationships in recent Corrie history, weathering everything from Lisa's dead but not actually dead wife Becky turning up out of nowhere, to the fallout of Becky's manipulations nearly tearing the couple apart for good. Through all of it, Betsy has remained at the emotional center of the household, and Carla has stepped into a genuine stepmother role, even as the pair have butted heads more times than anyone can count. What fans have loved most is watching that dynamic evolve from tension to real tenderness. Carla, a woman who has survived unimaginable trauma of her own across nearly 2 decades on the cobbles, sees something of herself in Betsy's fire and vulnerability. It's part of why what's happening now hits so hard. Betsy's own story has never been short on drama. She's been embroiled in a criminal gang's schemes, been the victim of a car crash linked to a dangerous crime plot, and even found herself questioned by police after stumbling on a body. She's a young woman who has lived through more chaos than most people twice her age, all while trying to build a future for herself, including recently winning a coveted place at the London College of Fashion, a moment that filled Carla with unmistakable pride even as it stirred fears about Betsy moving away from the family she'd only just settled into. But nothing could have prepared the Swain Connor household or Corrie viewers for what came next. Betsy has suffered a stroke, a storyline that has stunned fans and thrown her entire world, and the world of everyone who loves her, into chaos. For a teenager who has spent years building resilience against everything thrown at her, this is an entirely different kind of battle, one against her own body, against a slow and uncertain recovery, and against the fear that the future she'd only just started to imagine for herself might now look completely different. Lisa and Carla have thrown themselves into caring for her, rearranging their lives, their work, their relationship around getting Betsy through this. It's brought the family closer than ever in some ways, forcing Carla and Lisa to lean on each other in ways they haven't had to before. And that's where Lauren Bolton comes into the picture. Lauren, played by Kate Fitton, has become one of Betsy's closest friends on the cobbles, the pair having been through their own share of scrapes and scandals together over the years, from wild nights out to standing shoulder to shoulder against Weatherfield's various gangs and grifters. Lauren herself has an extraordinary backstory on the show, having survived a horrifying ordeal at the hands of Joel Deering that saw her disappear from Weatherfield entirely before her dramatic return, presumed by many who knew her to be gone for good. That shared history of trauma and survival is part of what's made her bond with Betsy feel so real to viewers. Two young women who understand what it means to have your world turned upside down through no fault of your own, and who found in each other someone who didn't need everything explained to be understood. When news of Betsy's stroke broke, Lauren was one of the first to rush to her bedside, visibly shaken by seeing her friend so fragile and changed, struggling to process the sight of someone so full of life suddenly rendered so vulnerable. It's worth remembering just how significant that hospital visit was when it first aired. Cameras lingered on Lauren's face as she took in Betsy's condition, and there was a real sense that the show was quietly planting the seeds for exactly the storyline now unfolding. Viewers at the time praised the tenderness of those scenes, with many commenting on how well the show captured that specific kind of helpless grief that comes from watching someone you love go through something you can't fix for them. Little did fans know that this same helplessness would soon curdle into something far messier and more painful for everyone involved. So here's where the story takes its dramatic turn, and it's the reason everyone's talking about Coronation Street right now. Just when Betsy needs her support network more than ever, cracks have begun to show in her friendship with Lauren. Rather than staying the course through Betsy's long and difficult recovery, Lauren has started to pull away, and in scenes building toward transmission, that distance turns into something that looks a lot like abandonment at the worst possible moment. Whether it's the emotional weight of watching a friend struggle to relearn basic skills, her own unresolved trauma resurfacing, or pressures in her own life pulling her focus elsewhere, Lauren's retreat leaves Betsy without a crucial piece of her support system precisely when she can least afford to lose it. And when Carla finds out, she does not hold back. Anyone who has followed Carla Connor's journey on Coronation Street over the years knows that beneath the sharp suits and the businesswoman exterior is a woman who protects the people she loves with a ferocity that borders on volcanic. This is a character who has survived kidnapping, addiction, grief, betrayal, and heartbreak time and time again, and who has learned the hard way what it means to be let down by people who are supposed to show up for you. So when she sees Betsy, a girl she has come to love as her own, left to face this frightening chapter without the friend who promised to be there, Carla's fury boils over. Viewers can expect an explosive confrontation, with Carla laying into Lauren in a way that pulls no punches, demanding to know how she could turn her back on someone so vulnerable. It's the kind of scene Allison King has built a career on delivering: raw, blistering, and utterly compelling. Of course, soap storylines are rarely as simple as villain and victim, and there's every chance the show is setting up something more layered than a straightforward falling out. Lauren's own history of trauma means her retreat from Betsy's bedside could be about far more than simple selfishness. Fans watching closely will remember that Lauren has her own scars, and soaps love nothing more than showing how one character's pain inadvertently wounds another. It's entirely possible that what looks like abandonment on the surface is really Lauren struggling to cope with feelings she doesn't know how to process, which could set up a much more sympathetic redemption arc further down the line, once Carla's rage has had its moment and the dust begins to settle. Fan reaction to the unfolding storyline has been intense, with soap fan forums and social media lighting up with strong opinions on both sides almost as soon as the first teaser clips began doing the rounds. Plenty of viewers have thrown their support firmly behind Carla, praising the character for standing up so fiercely for a young woman who has so often been failed by the adults and peers around her, and calling the confrontation a long overdue showcase for Allison King's dramatic range. Several fan accounts have gone as far as to say this could be one of Carla's most memorable outbursts in years, right up there with some of her most explosive scenes from across her long history on the show. Others, however, have been quick to defend Lauren, pointing to her own traumatic backstory and arguing that judging her too harshly ignores just how much she herself has been through. Fans on this side of the debate have raised the point that a stroke recovery storyline can be triggering and overwhelming for anyone forced to relive memories of losing control over their own life and safety, and that Lauren pulling away might say more about her unresolved pain than about any lack of love for Betsy. This split in opinion has made for some genuinely lively debate across comment sections and fan pages, with viewers picking apart every trailer clip and spoiler picture for clues as to which side the show ultimately wants audiences to land on. There's also been a great deal of praise circulating for how sensitively the show appears to be handling the realities of stroke recovery more broadly, with viewers who have their own experience of the condition, either personally or through loved ones, commenting on how the storyline captures the frustration, fear, and isolation that so often accompanies it. Several have noted that Corrie rarely gets these sensitive medical storylines wrong, and that Sydney Martin's performance as Betsy navigating this new reality has already struck a chord with audiences well beyond the show's usual fanbase. Entertainment outlets covering the soap world have highlighted this as one of the standout storylines of the year so far, with several pointing out that it continues Coronation Street's long tradition of tackling serious health and well-being topics through storylines that manage to educate as much as they entertain, without ever losing sight of the emotional, character-driven drama that keeps viewers coming back night after night. So, what could all of this mean for where the show goes from here? For Betsy, this storyline looks set to be a defining chapter, one that could reshape her entire trajectory on the cobbles. There's already been talk of her London College of Fashion place hanging in the balance because of her health, and it's not hard to imagine the show using this crisis to explore whether she'll still get the chance to chase that dream, or whether her path will shift in an entirely different direction because of everything she's been through. For Carla and Lisa, the strain of caring for Betsy, combined with Carla's explosive confrontation with Lauren, could easily ripple into their own relationship, testing whether their partnership can hold steady under this kind of pressure or whether old insecurities creep back in. And for Lauren, this could be the beginning of a redemption story, one where she has to confront her own unresolved trauma before she can find her way back into Betsy's life and rebuild the trust she's broken. There's also plenty of speculation swirling among fans about where the friendship goes from here. Some believe this rift could be permanent, marking the end of one of the show's more underrated young friendships, as both characters are pulled in different directions by their own personal battles. Others think this is simply the story's darkest hour before the two find their way back to each other, with Lauren eventually stepping up in a big way to prove her loyalty once the initial shock has worn off, and she's forced to reckon with what her absence really cost Betsy. There's also chatter about whether Dylan Wilson, Betsy's on-off love interest, might step into the gap left by Lauren, deepening his own storyline with Betsy as their relationship is put to the test in the most difficult of circumstances the pair have faced together so far. Some fans have even floated the idea that this could be the making of Dylan as a character, giving him the chance to prove he's grown up and is ready to be the steady, dependable presence Betsy needs, after a history of being seen as something of a trier who doesn't always get things right. Then there's the question of Carla and Lisa themselves. Caring for a recovering loved one puts enormous strain on any relationship, and soap operas have never shied away from showing the cracks that appear when two people are stretched to their absolute limit. Could Carla's fury at Lauren be a release valve for exhaustion and fear that's been building for weeks, with Betsy's health scare bringing old anxieties about loss and control bubbling back to the surface for a woman who has buried far too many people she's loved? It's the kind of layered, character-driven storytelling Corrie has built its reputation on, and it wouldn't be surprising to see the fallout from this confrontation ripple outward into Carla and Lisa's own relationship in the weeks ahead. Whatever direction the writers take, it's clear this arc is being positioned as one of the emotional cornerstones of Coronation Street's current run, and it wouldn't be surprising to see award consideration in the mix for the performances involved, particularly if Alison King continues delivering scenes as powerful as the one being teased here. So, to bring it all together, here's where things stand. Betsy Swain is fighting to rebuild her life after a devastating stroke, supported by Carla and Lisa, who have rallied around her without hesitation. Her friend Lauren, someone who is supposed to be a rock through this crisis, has instead pulled away, leaving Betsy without a crucial source of support at her most vulnerable moment. And Carla, Never one to stay silent when someone she loves is hurting, is about to unleash her fury in a confrontation that promises to be one of the most talked about scenes of the year. Whether Lauren's retreat comes from selfishness, her own buried trauma, or something else entirely remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. This storyline is far from over, and the fallout is going to reshape relationships across the cobbles for weeks to come. That's everything we know so far on this gripping Coronation Street storyline, but as always, this show has a habit of throwing in twists nobody sees coming, so stay tuned, because there's certainly more to come. What do you think is really going on with Lauren? Do you think Carla's rage is completely justified, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. We always love reading them. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another Coronation Street update. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.